Hey guys, Non-Zero here, coach of the Pittsburgh Celesteelas, bringing you the Week 3 match analysis and team builder for the DGBA. Now this week we're up against the Bay Area Pidgeots, who are so far 2-0 in this league. And looking at their draft, that is no surprise. So my opponent is running, you can see this on the left side of the screen, Mega Venusaur, Manaphy, Heatran, Landotherian, Zapdos, Sylveon, Terrakion with the Z Crystal, Dragonite, Silvally, Politoed, and Cloyster. So their team is basically a whole lot of massive threats, and my draft does not switch into this draft at all. Not only that, but I have some serious difficulties breaking down his defensive core. So with that in mind, I can't really build the same sort of defensive / balanced teams that I've been building the past 2 weeks, where I have an answer to everything that my opponent might be able to bring. No, I just can't do that, he has too many threats. So instead, my approach for team building this week is more or less just to try to keep my opponent off balance by bringing some unconventional sets, and hopefully some sets they can put in the work. I have no idea how this is going to go, and I'm not confident at all about this match, but I think we've built somewhat of an interesting team, so hopefully we can put up a good fight today. Alright, so the first mon that I'm going to bring to this matchup is going to be this Bisharp. Bisharp rocking a Focus Sash, a max attack, adamant nature, with Sucker Punch, Iron Head, Knockoff, and Sword Stance. So the idea behind this Bisharp is just to get a few really hard hits off and just dent some of the members of his team. With the Focus Sash, I can sort of ensure that I get 2 hard hits off, potentially more if he's forced to switch out or something, but it means that, for example, if this thing is in against a Terrakion, that I'm able to get an Iron Head off. So that's Bisharp's job. It's not meant to sweep or anything, it's just meant to get a few hard hits off on his team and make the job easier for the rest of my mons. So the second mon I decide to put on this team is a Tapu Koko. So the Tapu Koko, the idea behind this set is to lure in that Mega Venusaur and get a hard hit off with Brave Bird. Brave Bird doing about 60 to 70% on the Venusaur depending on its investment. We have here an interesting EV spread. We have 172 attack, 120 special attack, 216 speed with a naughty nature. So the 216 speed allows me to outpace by 1 point a max speed Shell Smashed Cloyster. That means that in order for that thing to damage me, it's forced to click Ice Shard, and Ice Shard's only doing about 50 to Koko. Now the naughty nature, which is a plus attack minus Spadef, I chose that over a plus attack minus defense nature because 3 forms of priority on my opponent's team, that being Terrakion with Quick Attack, Dragonite with Extreme Speed, and Cloyster with Ice Shard, all hit from the physical side, and priority is mostly what Tapu Koko has to worry about. So that's this set. The rest of the moves are pretty self-explanatory. Hidden Power Ice hitting Dragonite and Lando, and Thunderbolt hitting just about everything else besides the Venusaur and those two. So that is this mon, and the next 2 mons kind of have to be explained together, but I will reveal them one at a time. So first, just feast your eyes on this glorious Mew set. We have Mew with leftovers, running a max defense set with max HP, max defense, a bold nature, no speed IVs, and Roost, Baton Pass, Calm Mind, and Substitute. So on the outside, you might ask, okay, well, what is this thing, baton passing to? The Koko is not a great recipient, right? Because as long as Landotherian and any water type is still on the field, my Koko can't really deal with the combination of them since it's choice locked into either Hidden Power Ice or Thunderbolt. So here's the explanation for this set, and it's the next mon on my team, and that mon is Swellow. So the idea behind this is that at a +1 special attack, Life Orb Swellow just decimates my opponent's team. Hurricane knocks out Venusaur, Boom Burst knocks out almost everything else, Hidden Power Ground knocking out Heatran, and in general he just has a very, very, very tough time dealing with this mon. Unless he's brought all of the priority that he's packing, he's going to have a difficult time dealing with a Swellow if I manage to pass a +1 special attack to the Swellow with the substitute intact. So that's the idea behind this Mew. It's max HP and max defense, meaning that can potentially sub and baton pass off on something like his Terrakion, although I am sort of worried that his Terrakion might be running the Z move Savage Spin Out from X-Scissor just to hit this Mew, so I'm going to have to watch out for that. But in any case, this thing should be able to take something like Lando, and should be able to command up on mons like Zapdos, Heatran, and even Venusaur, especially Venusaur. I think Venusaur is one of the main mons that I could potentially substitute Calm Mind and get a Baton Pass off after a switch into Venusaur. So, and that's this Mew set, and that is the Swallow set that goes with the Mew set. A couple of things do have to work out in order for this strategy to work. However, even if I don't manage to Baton Pass a substitute and a +1 special attack into this Swallow, the Swallow is still hitting very hard in its own right. And if everything's weakened after a bunch of rounds of Stealth Rocks, then it can just clean up by itself without any help from the special attack passing Mew. So the next mon on the team is a bit more standard. We are running just a nice leftover Skarmory with Stealth Rock, Defog, Roost, and Iron Head. I invested some in Spadef so that I'd be able to take hits from the Sylveon somewhat better and take it on with Iron Head. Now, other than that, this Skarmory is just kind of a standard Skarmory. I want to get rocks up, I want to keep him up, and I don't want my opponent to be defogging. The good news is my opponent doesn't have a solid way of hazard removal. There is Rapid Spin on the Cloyster, but I don't really think he's going to be running that. And there's also Defog on the Zapdos, but the problem with Defog, of course, is I have a Bisharp. So hopefully I'll be able to get rocks up, and if rocks are up, that's going to be huge for my team, because mons like a Zapdos are taking 25 from rocks, Heatran, Lando, Manaphy, Venusaur all taking neutral, Dragonite taking 25 from rocks, Cloyster taking 25 from rocks. In general, it's a very rocks weak team, so getting these rocks up is going to be huge for the rest of my mons to put in work. So hopefully I am just able to get the rocks up on the field and prevent my opponent from removing them. So that's going to be the Skarmory set. Okay, so now for my last mon. For a while here I had Zygarde. Zygarde, of course, being immunity to electric, so I'd be able to, have a switch into Thunderbolt and manage the Zapdos. However, the problem with Zygarde, I felt, is that I'm pretty sure that he's going to bring Cloyster, and so I really don't want to bring a Zygarde when there's a Cloyster, because even if the Zygarde manages to get a couple of boosts off, it's not going to be doing too much to the Cloyster because of Cloyster's massive defenses, and Cloyster in return can just one-shot it with an Icicle Spear. So I didn't really think that it was realistic that Zygarde could, manage a sweep or even manage to do that much in general when my opponent has a great answer in Cloyster and also another pretty solid answer in Lando T. Not to mention his Sylveon, which checks it, his Venusaur, which could potentially check it, his Manaphy, which might be packing the Ice Beam. All in all, there were too many cons to bringing the Zygarde this week, so instead I opted to bring Mega Gyarados. Go with what you know, I just went another Adamant Max Attack, Mega Gyarados, Dragon Dance 3 attacks. Like always, just Ice Fang. Because of Mold Breaker, this thing is going to be hitting Venusaur and Dragonite for a whole lot of damage. Waterfall, a powerful stab just to hit Heatran and Lando, and finally Crunch, just that I have something to hit his water types. So that's this set. I'm hoping that this mon can put in as much work as it has the previous 2 weeks, because the previous 2 weeks it has been epic. This thing has managed to pick up sweep in round 1 and pick up a sweep in round 2, totaling 9 kills between the 2 weeks, and so hopefully I can manage to set this thing up. The problem, of course, with this week is that there are less opportunities for me to set up on his team. Might be able to do it versus a Heatran potentially, or potentially I might be able to do it versus a choice-locked Lando into Earthquake, something like that, or even potentially versus the Manaphy. I'm not sure, it all depends on which sets he runs, but in any case, this is definitely going to be an uphill battle. I'm not feeling confident at all about this matchup, but I think this team does have some potential despite me having 3 electric weaknesses and not the best switch into Zapdos. I'm still hoping that these mons can put in some work, namely the 3 mons on the right, the mons that I'm hoping might be able to sweep late game. In any case, I'm going to give the game my best, and I will be right back with letting you know how the match went. And we are back with the match. My opponent deciding to rock a team of Sylveon, Politoed, Manaphy, Lando, Dragonite, and Zapdos. The big surprise for me was that he did not bring Mega Venusaur, he did not bring Terrakion, and he did not bring Cloyster. All 3 of those I thought were likely brings. Instead, he brought a Rain offensive mode with Politoed and Manaphy, as well as a potential abuser in the Dragonite, which might be packing Hurricane or Thunder. So let's go ahead and see how this match went. Turn 1, I'm going to lead Skarmory. I just want to get up my rocks, as he does predict this and lead his Zapdos. I don't really have any switch into this thing, and getting up my rocks here probably means they're going to be around for the majority of the game. So I do just get up my rocks here. It's going to be difficult for him to find time to defog later on because we both brought just so much offense. And so I get up my rocks here, but I am more or less sacking off this Skarmory because I don't have any switch-ins to the incoming Hyper Voice. Although based on the fact that he was confident that he would outspeed me, I kind of thought that he was probably Choice Scarf because Sylveon does have a lower natural base speed than Skarmory. And some lead Skarmories often run a lot of speed. So I do now go into my Bisharp as he pulls a switch out into his Politoed. And I predict him switching out from his Sylveon, so I go for the knockoff. Unfortunately, another knockoff's not going to take this thing out, so I have to go for the Swords Dance. And I just hope he doesn't burn me with Scald. Thankfully he doesn't, so another knockoff is able to take out this Politoed. Now he brings in the Dragonite. So here it was sort of a dilemma for me. Do I Sucker Punch, expecting him to take me out with something like an Earthquake, or do I knock off, expecting either an Extreme Speed or a Dragon Dance? So I thought that the Extreme Speed predicting a Sucker or Dragon Dance predicting a Sucker play was a bit too obvious here. I actually did go with the Sucker play, thinking that my opponent would predict me to knock off. Unfortunately, that did not work out for me. Although I did calculate here that in the worst case scenario that he is Dragon Dance Dragonite, I am still able to revenge kill him next turn either with my Gyarados or with my Tapu Koko. So Sucker Punch, of course, not going to do anything here, as Extreme Speed does knock me out. Although based on the first Extreme Speed's damage, I do know that this thing is Choice Banded, which means that I can send in my Mew pretty safely and just click Calm Mind here, because this Mew is max defense. So I click Calm Mind here, and I'm not too worried about this Landorus, because again, this Mew is just max defense. So I decided to just go here for a Baton Pass, as the U-turns into a Sylveon. So I kind of wished that I had stayed in here. I wish that I had either just Roost to scout what the Landorus was going to go for, or just went for a second Calm Mind. I think either of those would have put me in a really great position here. But instead I do Baton Pass out, and I really don't have the greatest Baton Pass recipients in front of the Sylveon, so I just go out into my Gyarados. Now here I think I made a bit of a misplay. I should have just Waterfalled once, and then Mega Evolved and Waterfalled again. That would have very likely knocked out the Sylveon. However, I was thinking that I can take two Hyper Voices with a boosted Spadef. Unfortunately, I cannot take two Hyper Voices with a boosted Spadef, which means that I'm only going to be able to get off one hit on the Sylveon. So that was just a misplay on my part, me not knowing that calc as well as I should have. I am able to get a nice 76% off. Unfortunately, I don't flinch, which means that he is going to be able to knock me out with the Hyper Voice. Now, the only Mon that I really want to revenge with at this point is the Tapu Koko. Because Tapu Koko at this range, U-turn does knock out the Sylveon, and I can just U-turn out into my Mew. Get it another round of leftovers, and see what my opponent's switch into this Mew is. Now, he does go into the Dragonite, and because this thing is Choice Banded, if he goes for any move other than an Outrage, it's going to do less than the 57% that I'm recovering each turn with Roost and leftovers. So this first turn I just decide to scout out and see whether he goes for the Outrage. He does go for the Outrage, and it does the 64% roughly that I was expecting. And so I get almost all of that back with the Roost and the leftovers. Now I have a free switch into my Tapu Koko. So at this point, I'm not sure what I should go for with my Tapu Koko. I don't know whether I should Thunderbolt, expecting either his Manaphy or his Zapdos, or whether I should Hidden Power Ice, expecting his Landorus. I end up going for the Hidden Power Ice play because that does deal some damage to everything. I don't think he's going into the Manaphy at this point. He's probably going to either the Zapdos or the Landorus. And Hidden Power Ice is still doing something to Zapdos, while Thunderbolt obviously is not doing anything to the Landorus. So I opt to go for the Hidden Power Ice here, get off some nice damage on this Zapdos, as based on this Hidden Power Ice damage, that's actually the only way that's possible is if it's a mineral on Max Spadef Zapdos. So at least now I know that he doesn't have any special attack investment, and I know that he's just Max Spadef. And this is going to be helpful for later on, but he also reveals himself to be leftovers at that point. I don't want my Koko taking any damage whatsoever, so I just go out into my Mew here, as unfortunately he does miss the Toxic. Now, I'm not sure how much that mattered. If he had hit the Toxic there, he would have Toxic me as well as himself, so I'm not sure whether it would have benefited him more or me more, because this Zapdos is very annoying for my team to take down. He does land the second Toxic, as it, of course, goes back to him due to Synchronize, and I go for a Calm Mind. So I think this is the moment that I'm going to be able to get off my Baton Pass after a sub into the Swallow. Because I know that a Volt Switch at this range is not going to break Mew's Substitute. So if the Zapdos stays in, maybe tries to Roost, maybe tries to Defog or something, then I'm just going to be able to get my Substitute and get a Baton Pass off into the Swallow and work from there. Now, unfortunately, he does Volt Switch into this Manaphy. And at this point, I was actually pretty excited because the Manaphy can't break my sub. Even if it's max special attack and running Surf, or even Hydro Pump, it's not going to be able to break the sub of max HP Mew with +1 Spadef. However, he does pack the Calm Mind of his own, which means that after my Baton Pass, the Swallow is not going to be able to knock out this Manaphy, unfortunately. So I am able to do a solid 2-hit KO with this Boom Burst. However, he is able to break my sub with Ice Beam, which means that I'm exposed to Dragonite's Extreme Speed, which definitely knocks out Swallow from this range on the Choice Band variant. So this was a very complicated endgame. There are a lot of scenarios that could unfold from here. One potential thing that could happen is that he goes out into his Dragonite, clicks Extreme Speed, knocks me out, in which case I would go into my Tapu Koko and get a kill with HP Ice. Now if he chooses to sack his Dragonite and just get another Extreme Speed off, then because my Tapu Koko survives the combination of Extreme Speed and 1 Volt Switch, I would win that endgame with my Tapu Koko 100%. However, what actually happens in the game is that he goes into his Landorus. So now, if Landorus has a move to knock out this Swallow, so if it has something like a Stone Edge, which I think would be the only move that actually knocks Swallow out from here, I don't think a knockoff knocks Swallow out from here from Scarflando. However, he does not go for a move that knocks my Swallow out. He goes for the U-turn, and as soon as I see that U-turn, I am very, very relieved, because it means that I do get another kill with my Swallow here, which is enough to make sure that I'm going to win 100% with my Scarf Tapu Koko in the back and HP Ice, barring an Extreme Speed crit. So he sacks his Zapdos, and now at this point Tapu Koko cleans up. Now if he had knocked me out with a Landorus, then I could have at that point gone into my Tapu Koko, and sort of the same thing has happened in the Dragonite scenario would happen there. I would get a kill with HP Ice, and because I live the combination of Extreme Speed and Volt Switch, I would be able to beat the last two Mons 1v1 with my Koko, potentially sacking the Mew at some point if the Zapdos is packing Roost. So that's going to be that game. As the game happened, I was able to just sack off my Swallow to the Extreme Speed, and then come in with my Tapu Koko, tank an Extreme Speed. He does actually get a max roll on this Extreme Speed. 70.8% is absolute max, as I'm able to knock him out with the Hidden Power Ice, and then knock out his Landorus with the Hidden Power Ice as well. And that is going to be a good game. So that was a very, very, very close game, especially because at the end there, all of the different scenarios that played out, some of them were very, very close. For example, Tapu Koko living a max roll Extreme Speed plus max roll Volt Switch, it actually only lives that at around 2%, so it would have been very, very close. In any case, that was a very, very good game. I think I definitely learned a lot from this. I think I made a couple of misplays, for example, not knocking off with the Bisharp against the Dragonite. I think I definitely overthought that turn, and I think in general, in my preparation, I probably should have looked more into bringing the Zygarde. I think the Zygarde might have been a better matchup here, and I'm still not sure about the move set. It ended up working out. I was able to get a baton pass off into the Swellow. However, I'm pretty sure that there could have been a more effective use of my Mew in this battle. But in any case, that was a very, very good game to the Peoria Pidgeots. We pull off the narrow 2-0 victory, taking the Pittsburgh Celesteelas to 3-0 in this league. That is all for today. See you guys in the next match. Peace.